Hi everyone, my name is Viktor Leijon. Welcome to the Developer Days Expert Panel Town Hall. So we are talking about what you can do with NSO and the experience of our experts. So I have a very nice lineup today. We have Jason Belk, our developer evangelist, we've heard so much from today. We have Nils Tisell, our product manager for Orchestration and NSO. We have Perry Greenwood from our product management team as well. We have Roque Gagliano, who is a technical solutions architect on NSO. We have Shashidhar Srinivasa from our development organization. And we have Kjellin, the product owner for NSO. So welcome, panelists. And let us start with an easy question. So, Roque, what is your favorite new NSO feature in NSO 5.6 that was just released?
Hello, Viktor, and hello to the audience. So, I think besides 5.6, also what's going on in the recent, let's say, 6 months of development, my favorite feature is everything that we're doing around observability. So the fact that, something that customer has been asking us for a long time is, how can I monitor if my, my automation framework, my orchestrator is working correctly, or, is it slow, is it fast? Customer or user may complain, but I don't have data, I don't have information to actually benchmark what is happening, correct, and troubleshoot. And I think it is pretty remarkable what we're doing there. And the idea that we are tapping into the open telemetry ecosystem, so we can actually use the tools that are available for us, so we don't need to develop those for the customer. It is very, very cool. And I encourage everybody to go to the GitLabs and see the actual toolings that are also available there to get you started right away.
And those are some really good tools. So we've had presentations on previous developer days around observability. So please do check that out. It does give you a whole new world of insight. So let's try Kjellin. What is your favorite new feature in NSO 5.6? What have you enjoyed working on?
Hi, Viktor. Hi, everyone. One I have to mention too. One of my absolute favorite features is the improvements we have done around operational performance for net migrations, which I'm very excited about. And I also think that the possibility to define macros in service templates is very promising and very exciting, and it will make for much neater code organizations within service templates.
So tell us a little bit about those new service template features. What is it we're now able to do that we weren't able to do before?
We are able to define macros in XML, which functions a bit like a function in a programming language. So you can, in one XML file that's included by other files in that same package, define a macro with input parameters that you can then call as you call a function, and that will be expanded in other XML files. So this makes for much less code duplications, which is neater and leads to less risk of making manual errors from defining your templates.
That is really cool. I hope it will be very useful. We do see more and more people spending more time in the only template. And so I think that's a good development. Let's try Perry maybe from the PLM team. Perry, what kind of things are you enjoying in 5.6, and what are you happy about being able to deliver to the customers?
So I'm going to go from the PLM perspective, and my favorite part about 5.6 is that it's finally here, right? And we're seeing customer adoption of that, which is great. Like already we have some major customers that are saying, hey, we want to move to 5.6 as soon as possible. So from the PLM perspective, absolutely excited about the fact that we've delivered on 5.6. And I know it was a little late, but I think it was important to deliver on the commitments we made.
That's very interesting. So let's move on to some other questions. So let's, Jason, we had a few questions around how you can learn NSO and how you can use NSO to learn about networking in general. What are the best ways to both to learn NSO and to use NSO as a learning tool for yourself?
I know for myself, NSO really helped me learn because you have a local snapshot of all the configuration for the devices in your network or your test bed if you're interacting in a lab environment. And so I think for people who have no networking background, it's good. There are some DevNet labs around networking basics that are good to go through. But when it comes to interacting with the network, just thinking of it as, you know, a set of data that you're trying to manipulate as a software developer, maybe. Having NSO local install with some NetSIMs set up is a great way to play around in kind of a low risk environment. So you can try out your Python software, try out in the NSO CLI, try out the web GUI, poke around making changes, making rollbacks. So that's what I would do. I also used NSO as a EN learning tool because you're able to maybe create packages, extend the NSO application and visualize that through the CLI, the GUI, and the other APIs. And so I'd say I use NSO both as a learning tool for the network devices and then also for Yang as a language itself.
That's a good point. And yeah, I think there are, especially with the stuff you presented today, it's easier than ever before to learn more about NSO and leverage NSO for the things that you're interested in. So let's move on to Shash. So you've worked with a few different NSO projects and, you know, you work in the core function pack team here in San Jose. What, in your experience, signifies a successful NSO deployment? What kind of things in the development tells you that the things are done and that you are doing well?
Yeah, I think a successful NSO deployment, basically, it actually depends a lot on the devices. And so some devices, they just accept the configuration and say it is successful, but not really instantiating it on the switches. So you can roll in a self-check within your service to check, push some live status commands to get make sure that whatever you intended is working up. And then we do have, with the use of nano services and plan, you know exactly where your service is at and what step in the process you're along. If you use these components, you can figure out exactly where you are in your service deployment and what is the status and how it is proceeding. And in terms of a successful service design, we've had a very good cross-domain service deployments with some of our DC core function packs, which pushes services across both the data center and the transport. And it helps users, you know, get an end-to-end network across multiple domains up and working just by push of one button. So that what I believe would be a successful service design.
Yeah, and that's true. And I mean, what Hank just taught about Pi8S is also very helpful for this kind of health checks and status checks. And Roque, I know you work with a lot of customers. Do you have some kind of customer perspective on this kind of thing?
Yeah, I think this is a very, very important topic because, you know, a lot of the customers, you're starting an automation project, you need to show success to your management, how you do that, how you talk to your management or your leadership language to show we are making success. And this is very similar to when you have a, you know, we talk about adopting software practices. So when you have agile development, you got this idea, what doesn't mean that the product is ready, correct? So these sort of KPIs, this definition of success is very important that you think about it up front. So you start measuring those KPIs before your project starts. So when you finish the project, you have something to show your customer. So we have customers, for example, that have taken KPIs which are very which are quantitative things like how much time does it take to do certain tasks, or how many errors, how many tickets I was getting, correct? And they will find a way to measure that before starting the project, so they have a baseline, and then you are able to then, when the end of the project happens, to show that to your management. And we try to put this best practice in our the development portal also, and we have some presentations in the past from Developers Day on some KPIs some customers have used. The interesting thing is that some of them also use non-quantitative KPIs, like has it improved the communication between departments? Has it improved the way we actually are able to do like requirements documents, so we can actually be more precise on what the different departments need when we talk about automation. And then, of course, for a customer perspective, the best indicator is the customer, related indicators like loyalty, errors, drop calls, etc.
Have you seen any customers that have used the new observability to extract these kind of KPIs to sort of generate report from what's going on in the NSO?
Yeah. So
or maybe it's too early.
The one thing that so I think the best thing that customers are trying to do right now is to get that benchmark. That's where they basically are, correct? And I think it's more from understanding the performance on the tool rather than the impact that it has to my management KPIs. But of course, one of the key things on observability is that NSO is becoming critical to their operations. So an error, a mistake, a problem, a downside of NSO now affects those KPIs. So they need to have the observability to make sure that the NSO is not making things worse, correct? So that is extremely important, correct? Because you want to make sure that the platform is behaving correctly.
Yeah, that's very true. We have a customer question. I was trying to do Nils Petter as the PLM lead. This might be for you. Why should we upgrade from an early NSO 5 version, this example 5.2 to 5.6? What kind of improvements have we seen over the last 4 releases?
4 releases is 2 years of releases, so quite a lot of things have happened. I think Martin talked about a little bit of his favorite features here in 5.6. But I would like to add, over time, we do improve the scalability and performance of NSO, which is very important. And I think to call out now for 5.6, we've improved net migration. And also, that's kind of interesting improvement that I think that we'll see more of. It's actually done in the background, so you as a user will not need to change your services. So performance improvements, we talked about tooling yesterday as well, all those kind of features that we stack up over time. And then on top of that, I also would of course like to add that we're now going into a new life cycle. So if you're an old, you will actually end the software maintenance on the old releases, which means you can't get new net updates, and so you also lose that one if you stay too long, so to say, on the old releases. So to be able to reap the benefits of both the invisible changes, but the non-functional improvements, as well as the new features, I definitely recommend you to go up to the latest release. And of course, 5.6 that we released last week is our favorite.
Always the latest one. And we have a number of improvements, of course, over the years. I mean, there's a feature list like this for every release. We did an HA change, for instance, that helps a lot with making it simpler to run HA. And, there is some cool stuff in every release. No one, I had an export session a while ago, so no one mentioned the performance and logging improvements for export in 5.6. That's certainly a fun area to look at. Let's try the same question for Martin. What kind of improvements do we have in the last few releases that you are happy with? Why should we upgrade to 5.6?
Yeah, I would agree with everything you say. I'm very enthusiastic about the new HA solution and the performance improvements we have made in various aspects. We are also under advertised feature we have now is that we support heterogeneous LSA setups. So you can, if you have a larger LSA setup, you can now upgrade them one at a time, which facilitates deployments, which is very nice things. There is also that list is a bit too deep to go into, but there is various improvements about observability in nanoservices that has happened. And in general, improvements around observability is a big selling point of later releases, I would say, on top of the things already mentioned.
Yeah, and what I notice is that sometimes, for various reasons, with customers and stuff, you go back and use old versions. You often notice you're missing features that you really enjoy in the newer versions, but when you work with the newer ones, you kind of get used to it. We have a question that's more PLM, and let's see if, I don't know if Nils Petter or Perry wants to take this one. Some praise, right? NSO is a great platform, but are there any plans to promote it more widely? Maybe include it in Cisco DNA subscriptions or some more free or smaller limited scenarios or other models for spreading it to an even wider audience?
Yesterday we talked a little bit about on a high level on NSO role in crosswords, where you have NSO as an integral part of the crosswords offering. So that's something that we'll see more of, expanding the usage there. And then I think, Perry, you can expand a little bit about the different solutions. Other solutions we're part of?
Yeah, so I think that there's two pieces to this, right? There's the, what solutions you have on top of NSO that enable wider audiences in order to allow them to use the platform. Examples would be like the NFVO solution that we have on top of NSO, or the transport SDN solution that we have on top of NSO in terms of core function packs, right? So we do have audience, and we also have developers who use NSO internally here at Cisco to enable feature sets on iOS XE, similar to what DNA the DNA portfolio does. Not exactly as it does, but in a similar manner. So then there's the commercial question here, which is, do we plan to include that in things like Cisco DNA subscriptions? And I don't think we've explored that as an option yet, and I'm not sure what direction we'll end up going there, but I don't think that's been explored. So stay tuned.
But I assume that it's safe to assume that we would like more customers on the product.
Yes.
Yes.
So
very good point, Viktor.
So we have a technical question. We talked a little bit about performance, and there is a question about, first of all, and maybe this is a good one for Martin, the difference between scale and performance and sort of throughput questions versus scale. Another one is, what have we done to make upgrading more painless for package upgrades and stuff like that? And we looked into doing package reload with single package.
No, we don't have package reload for a single package. The net migrations work like that you work on device instances and the specific net versions, but package reload does not. We have regarding package up. Can you repeat the question? I think there was a bunch of questions baked into one here.
So the question is, have we done, or do we have in the pipeline any changes to make maintenance windows shorter, right? To make it easier to do package reload or to test your code quickly, right? Because it can be in a large system, it can be fairly slow to upgrade package? What is
Yes,
a net or
we have done
function
a couple of optimizations in later versions around package upgrades or upgrades in general, but we also have in pipelines both optimizations around the procedures and more operational features, which makes this quicker to do and from an operational perspective, fewer steps and more predictable procedure is in the pipeline for upcoming releases, as well as optimizing the performance of some of the package upgrades. That's committed features. Yes.
Good. Let's
Maybe
move to SaaS.
to remind people.
Were you saying something,
Viktor,
Roque?
I just wanted to add one point. Yeah, so I just wanted to add to one point to Martin's that since NSO 5.3, and people may not be up to speed with the latest one, you can always redeploy a single package, and since 5.3, that also will basically redeploy the templates that are associated with that package. So you don't need to do a full package redeploy for if you only need to update your templates. So either templates, Java code, Python code can be done for a single package and much faster than the full service maintenance.
So essentially, a package reload is only needed if you updated your YAG models. That's the most common case.
Yes, that's the current situation.
So let's try a question for Sash, and I don't know if you have a good answer, otherwise we can try somewhere else. So it's another user question. How can we detect handmade configuration changes of a device that belongs to NSO service, right? So how do we differentiate between things that the service owns that is handmade, prefer without doing a check sync?
Yeah, there's a whole chapter about service discovery, brownfield configurations. If you look at our developer guides, so one thing that you want to do is whatever you did offline, you want to absorb that as a service within NSO. So that you could do with the service discovery procedure described in the developer guides. So the service reconcile, reconcile, dry runs, that will give you a lot of options about how you can transform whatever you have on the device as a service. And also there are other brownfield changes that you could do that, you could explore the service metadata to find out what configuration of the device is owned by the service. And, you could use commands like reconcile and redeploy reconcile to adjust what is pushed by NSO and what's on the device. But I mean, wherever possible, we would recommend that NSO be the sole manager of your device, and that way it keeps everything clean. But there are also options like partial sync and commit no override that could let you override some of these things.
Those are all good parameters to look into. And it's worth mentioning that you can actually see in the device tree which changes are owned by a service. You can look for the back pointers using the pipe display service metadata flag in the CLI to try and get more information, right? You can use this over the APIs as well to understand what the source of device configuration is. Let's move towards the end of this. So let's move to Nils Petter. What are you looking forward to the most in upcoming NSO releases? Are there any interesting things that we should look forward to?
So NSO is a very mature product, I would say. That being said, we have a lot of input from our large customer base when we're looking into the different operational aspects. I usually go back to the 4 pillars that we talk about: scalability, interoperability, usability, etc. but really what's coming in the upcoming releases, we have a huge improvement in even more improvements in HA. The things that we see now in 5.6 will be continue to evolving regarding net migration and a few other performance improvements. That really in the short term. That will continue in the long term as well. Hopefully, I have a big hope in that as well. Is the entire toolsets portfolio will make it easier for our NSO developers to efficiently develop new services.
That's definitely true. So, Jason, do you have some examples of things that we should not try to do with NSO? We have some customer questions, other tools. We don't have time to cover all of that, but what kind of things do we recommend to use other tools for?
On my experience, and other people feel free to chime in, NSO is awesome at managing your configuration and connecting to all of your other infrastructure management applications. So if you're trying to do a lot of operational data manipulation, so streaming telemetry, other things that require lots of data coming in quickly and parsing it and making decisions on it, it's good to partner with other applications that are more focused on the operational data side. I mean, Hank showed the IATS side where you can do some good validations, but I'd say if you're starting to do that with streaming telemetry and other more complicated, larger data sets, definitely should look at that. NSO has the ability to work with, sequences of events that have time spread out, whether it's the services or React Fast Map. But I think if you're doing a lot of workflow manipulation where you're trying to visualize what's going on, we have good partners and good internal tools that are sold in terms of helping visualize what's going on in your network and then exposing those services to other people. Those would be areas where NSO can do it, but it's also better to bring in other business applications that serve those purposes.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all our panelists and the audience for all the great questions. That's all we had time for today. I hope it was useful to all of you. Let's hand it over to Niklas to wrap this up. And yeah, over to you, Niklas.
Thank you, Viktor, and thank you all in the expert team. I love this town hall. It was a great way to end 2 days of engagement, 2 days of really intensive learning. I'm exhausted, and so I bet you are too. I'd like to direct a big thank you to all of you who stayed with us throughout the event. We have been doing this for 5 years now. This is our 11th event. And we've been, I think, producing 190 sessions, over 160 hours of content. That is a great way to fuel the community. But the most important work that we do is that the work that we do on a daily basis together with you on the developer community and on NSO Dev Center. So after a well-earned rest, what I'd like you to do is to go to NSO Dev Center, check out the new look and feel, and check out the interactive documentation and the interactive labs. And give us feedback if you like it. And also, go to Developer Hub, ask questions to us. I mean, you met the experts today, and these experts will also answer questions to you on the Developer Hub. And what's good about Developer Hub, it's not just us answering questions to you. It's the community that help each other. So you are in this too, together with us. So what I'd like you to do now, except for going to Developer Hub and Dev Center, is also to pay attention to the survey and let us know how we can improve. So when that comes your way, please spend a moment to answer the survey. And with that, I hope you enjoyed the event. At least I have. And I hope to see you in our next event and on Developer Hub.